This talk isn't about Agile, but then there's more to life than work, right? I think we can all acknowledge that this year has been truly awful. So I'd like to share with you some of the tools that I've found help me to maintain a generally positive outlook over the years and even to spot some unexpected moments of beauty in my everyday life in the hope that they may help you too. Some of these tools might even help with work, as you'll see later. I need to say up front that what I'm talking about this evening is not a replacement for professional medical help. So if you're feeling hopelessness or entertaining any thoughts of self-harm, I urge you to please get some professional help.
Many years ago, I was signed off work for a few weeks with depression, and the GP gave me some very good advice, which I often still use. He said, keep routines as if you're going to work. Go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time, get washed, dressed, etc., as if you were going to work, and then go out for a local walk every day. He told me to prioritize sleep as much as possible, to find the sweet spot, not too much, not too little. And lastly, he recommended that I use active relaxation and 7-11 breathing to become calm when I was feeling anxious or stressed. And it was these last two tools that I would use to bring my mind back to the present moment instead of focusing on the past or the future that was creating my feelings of stress. I've noticed that the more time I spend in the present moment, the more I achieve, but also the more likely I am to notice tiny moments of joy. Since March, many of us have been forced to work from home, often in, shall we say, less than ideal circumstances, which might mean that you're finding it hard to carve out time for yourself. How many of you found yourself sitting at your laptop so caught up in your work that you haven't noticed that you're slumped over with a stiff neck and wrists and feeling frustrated and stuck? And it's hard when you're so caught up in the challenges and deadlines of work to think it's okay just to take a break. But sometimes that's exactly what's needed, even if just for a few minutes. Have you also noticed that your best ideas often pop into your head when you're in the shower? It's thought that this relaxed state of mind allows the release of dopamine, which increases activity in certain parts of the brain that promote creativity. So disengaging from the work temporarily might be just a thing that allows your distracted mind to come up with a solution to your problem. When you take that break, I recommend, instead of checking social media or the news, which, let's face it, at the moment is far more likely to raise your stress levels, make yourself a drink and try the following. Sit down and holding the drink up to your lip before you take a sip. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Breathe in the steam. Savor the smell of your drink. Feel the warmth of the steam on your upper lip and in your nostrils, and then as you drink it, feel the warmth. Taste the flavor of the liquid in your mouth before you swallow it. Savor each sip. If you've never come across this kind of thing before, this is mindfulness, and it's basically just being fully present in the moment. Next, take a look around yourself. What can you notice? Is there daylight streaming in through the window? Is it sunny or hazy? Are there shadows on the wall, and are they interesting or even funny? Is it dawn, midday or dusk? And what's the texture and temperature of the light? Is it soft, harsh, warm or cold? And if it's dark outside, is the light above your head casting an interesting pattern on the floor or the wall? For those brief moments, use as many senses as you can. Do you feel warm or chilly? What are you sitting on? Is it hard or soft? What can you hear? Are there dogs having a cross-neighbourhood conversation or birds having a fight on the neighbour's roof? Even notice the hum of the fridge. If you're feeling anxious, you could try 7-11 or box breathing. 7-11 is where you breathe in for the count of 7 and then out for the count of 11, extending that out breath. You can do this for a few times. Box breathing is where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and hold it for 4 seconds before repeating up to a maximum of 4 times in any one session. If you're having trouble sleeping, I found that deep breathing in combination with active relaxation exercise is helpful. The exercise I found most useful was progressive muscle relaxation. Starting from one end of the body, deliberately tighten and then relax each set of muscles in turn as you work your way up the body. I often found I didn't get to the other end before I fell asleep. And finally, I can also recommend practicing gratitude. I found that journaling 3 things that happen during the day that I'm grateful for, and they don't need to be big things, has helped me feel happier in the longer term. During the time I was signed off with depression, I was lucky enough to live fairly near the sea, and I would often walk to the seafront and back. And when I went back to work, I decided to continue to walk the half mile along the seafront each morning and evening as part of my real commute. So I saw the sea and the weather in all its different states. Everything from rough seas with waves crashing over the promenade to silky smooth mid-tides lapping gently against the sand. Each time, a different coloured sky affected the colour of the water, and a different weather condition affected the texture of the water too. So together with the tides, each time was different. In those days, there were no podcasts or mobile phones, so I was just much more focused on what was happening around me. And despite sometimes being soaked to the skin, I look back on that time with fondness. And since then, I've made a point of being aware of my surroundings as often as I can, focusing on being in the present moment. Because of that, I think, I find that I often spot little moments that I might otherwise miss. And sometimes I'll capture photos or videos of these things and put them on Instagram or Flickr to remind myself of them later when I might not be feeling quite so great. For example, one weekend I was walking into the kitchen to make a cup of tea when this caught my attention. My husband was sanding shelves in the background, but in my head, all I could hear was Sunspot by Moby. It just matched it so well. And I felt joy for that brief moment in time before the sun went behind a cloud and the light stopped dancing on my wall. Here I noticed the sun was beaming through the kitchen window and bouncing off the tap, creating this amazing effect on the wall behind the sink. And as I moved the tap, so it changed. When you're next out on a walk, I encourage you to look around you. What would you otherwise have missed? For example, if you have a local church, you could go gargoyle spotting with the kids. Notice the sun beaming through the trees at dusk, or the raindrops catching the light to sparkle like diamonds in the long grass. At this time of year, enjoy the crisp beauty of frosted leaves. During lockdown this summer, we walked in an area of the village we live in that we don't normally go, and discovered that the farmer had planted sunflowers in the corner of a field. All those bright, happy faces pointing at the sun, and yet we'd driven past it lots of times without even realizing they were there. If you've been on a local walk recently where you've noticed something interesting that you hadn't spotted before, Let me know, I'd be interested. Add it to the chat. While you're out, feel the weather on your face, even the rain, and choose to enjoy the sensation. Viktor Frankl said in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. The weather's nothing compared to what he experienced, obviously, but it shows you can choose your attitude. On my beach commutes, I would often end up soaking wet on one side and bone dry on the other from the onshore wind and rain. And yet, while I didn't enjoy it as such, I chose to laugh about it instead of just feeling miserable. So I encourage you to snatch a moment to take a deep breath. Look around you, really smell the coffee. Enjoy the feel of brisk air or gentle rainfall on your face. Listen to the birdsong. Notice the light shining through the Venetian blinds, creating stripes on your ceiling, or the effect of light reflecting off a dimpled glass as it passes through a patch of sunlight after you picked it up from the bedside table. What beauty can you discover in your home or your neighborhood that helps you see your world just a little bit differently and appreciate those simple, surprising moments, those micro moments of joy during these otherwise dark times? Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Sue.
Fantastic.
Really good.
And I really tested you with the car horn about 30 seconds in. I don't know did you all hear that?
I did hear that. I wasn't sure what that was.
I do apologise. That's why we say go on mute. But fantastic. So, any questions for Sue? I see there are lots of comments about how relaxed people feel, and I definitely feel more relaxed.
That's good.
But any questions?
I have a question to Sue. Is it just a coincidence, or are you extremely lucky with a strange and high number of phenomena in your house and your village?
I think it's a little combination of both. I think the position of the house and the fact that the light comes through the window a certain direction, I think helps. But I think being in the present moment more and being aware and able to look around a bit more is quite key to this.
Yeah.
That's my point, really.
There's one key takeaway from me is that I have to find a way to live in a village next to the sea with some nature. Otherwise, I will have failed. Thank you.
I'm not in the sea. I'm not near the sea now.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go for it, Rudy.
Just a comment. I must say the slides that you produced with the video in them, for example, that glass and the movement was wonderful.
That was actually one of the things I'd spotted.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you.
You mentioned quite a few things there, so a lot of kind of techniques that you've come across. Would you find that any one of those is kind of dominant in kind of helping you in your mental state?
It's difficult to say any one thing because I've been doing it kind of for so long now. I think just sort of being mindful generally helps, and just looking around you a lot and doing the coffee and relaxing for short periods of time. Yeah.
Great stuff. Great. Lovely techniques there, Sue. Thanks, Sue.
Thank you.
I was going to ask a question about the box breathing and why. I'm sure everybody tried the box breathing as they were going along, and the question was going to be, why only do it 4 cycles? But I think I realised after I started feeling a bit faint after doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
My own answer for that one.
Yeah. They say do as many as you can, but up to 4, because most people can't go beyond that comfortably anyway.